Now sure, there's still plenty of time for the game to figure out what needs to be done to pull each and every one of these WWE names out of obscurity or back into a position that best utilizes their unquestionable talents. There's a solid chance the following WWE wrestlers will all pass the point of repair in the eyes of those watching on, or even frustratingly seek pastures new in the not too distant future. Gareth here from What Culture Wrestling, and here are 10 WWE wrestlers who are in big trouble. Number 10, Shotsy. Nobody in their right mind ever genuinely imagined that the passionate green-haired tank rider would have even the slightest chance of besting the baddest woman on the planet on November 26th at Survivor Series. And that reality rendered much of the eventual SmackDown Women's Championship contest as a bit of a waste of time, really. And the same could probably be said of the decision to call Shotsy up to the main roster in the first place, to be honest. Since arriving on SmackDown in July 2021, the worker who claims to get a kick out of taking care of business has been allowed to do very little of precisely that. Outside of re-debuting her aforementioned rocket-boasting vehicle, the most notable thing Shotsy has been able to achieve came in the form of the six-pack challenge victory to earn said Ronda Rousey title shot recently. And even that played out to crickets due to the perennial loser never once being made to feel like anything more than a notable jobber. So imagining a world where Shotsy manages to actually reach the top of the Blue Mountain seems pretty fanciful at this point, with it feeling more and more likely that the 30-year-old is simply destined to act as top star cannon fodder for the foreseeable. Number 9, Elias. WWE managed to capture the most unexpected of lightnings in a bottle with the debut of a certain Ezekiel on the Raw after WrestleMania 38. What came next showed that given the right material, the star formerly known as Elias actually held the unlikely potential to genuinely get over as a surprisingly lovable babyface. I know, who knew? One that came equipped with an alarmingly hot tag too. So what did Triple H opt to do the second he seized control of his father-in-law's former kingdom? Murder the fun and revert Zeke back to his rather stale strumming ways. Is there really much life left in the Elias character as a genuinely compelling gimmick, if there ever was in the first place? He currently finds himself knocking around with Matt Riddle, and will no doubt stab the oblivious stoner in the back or nail him with his instruments before too long. But then what? Drifting back into the creative wilderness wouldn't be all that surprising and feels depressingly inevitable. Or maybe the game will finally see sense and bring back his far more entertaining younger brother. Number 8, Omos. WWE again managed to achieve the seemingly impossible in 2022. In Omos vs Braun Strowman, Trips created a scenario where the internet simply couldn't help but invest their time into the all-round circus show scenario, depicting two staggering kaiju frequently colliding in the lead up to and during their eventual clunky crown jewel coming together. But since the monster of all monsters got the better of his fellow giant, it is starting to seem as though the game has made his mind up in terms of who he feels is the more bankable beast to get behind at this current moment in time. Since battling Braun, the Nigerian giant has largely gone missing on WWE TV, and the absence of such a towering force has hardly been noticeable, which is a painful indictment on the colossal star's lack of real progression as a performer over the last few years. Not even Johnny Gargano could convince audiences Omos was a force to be feared during his loss to the still green giant during his only appearance on Raw post-Crown Jewel as of recording. And if Johnny Wrestling can't drag you to a half-decent performance in between the ropes, what are we even doing here? Number 7, Drew McIntyre. It tells a story when a star who has found himself recently battling over the undisputed WWE Universal Championship on British soil, seemingly besting a returning Papa H darling in a program, and lining up inside of the main roster's first ever War Game showdown, still feels like he's beginning to get lost in the shuffle a touch of late. But that's precisely where former WWE champion Drew McIntyre finds himself, with it not being clear in the slightest what the new regime now intends to do with a performer once positioned as the person to fall back on when the Roman Reigns project looked to be dying on its arse. Now sure, there's a chance the Scottish Warrior will possibly wiggle his way into the Intercontinental Championship scene by the time the incoming show of shows comes to town. Yet unless he decides to embrace a much needed return to the dark side, it doesn't seem as though McIntyre has any real future at all as a main event level player, which is pretty crazy thinking about it. And he'll likely continue to find himself on the outside looking in as the likes of Bray Wyatt and Cody Rhodes make their presence known in the coming months. Number 6, Dana Brooke. Not only did the game decide to mercifully kill off the 24/7 championship as a thing, or maybe attempted bin off is more accurate, but Papa H also definitively buried the star who'd put her all into the meaningless strap along with it in the process. While she may not have found herself in the thick of any genuinely compelling programs over the last few years, Dana Brooke did seem to be all too happy flying the 24/7 flag on Monday Night Raw, and would routinely talk up how much it meant for her to be representing the company as a champion, even if said title lost all worth about a week into its existence. Now the garish belt has been well and truly erased from the WWE picture going forward though, it's unclear how Brooke will fit into the Monday Night mix as anything other than another go-to jobber for the likes of Bianca Belair and other stars further up the card to pulverize for the rest of her days on the red roster. Simply put, the future looks rather painful for Brooke post 24/7 death. Number 5, the Street Profits. Instead of helping pump some life back into the unit that has grown increasingly stale of late, Montez Ford and Angelo Dawkins' recent Monday night comeback just felt like more of the uninspired same for the former tag champs. 2022 has already seen them regularly at odds with Alpha Academy and repeatedly collide with the Usos over the undisputed tag team championships. But in all honesty, the pair have been spinning their wheels for much of the back end of the year. Is now the time to finally experiment with a singles direction for both talented performers? It's not exactly a secret that Ford in particular is seen as a future megastar in the making by some in the back, but a spell away from the monotony of the Raw tag scene would likely do both lads a ton of favors going forward. Should WWE shy away from pulling the trigger on either a breakup or New Day-esque temporary separation, however, 2023 and beyond doesn't exactly offer that many exciting new directions for the team that has pretty much done it all already. Number 4, Io Sky and Dakota Kai. While it isn't actually always the answer when a team just isn't getting the most out of the gifted performers involved, in the case of Damage Control's Io Sky and Dakota Kai, a quick and clean severance definitely needs to happen sooner rather than later. Both former NXT title holders have done everything in their power to elevate the paper-thin tag team corner of the main roster's women's division since arriving at SummerSlam. But that still doesn't change the fact that their miscasting alongside Lita Bayley as a unit hell-bent on domination will go down as something of a noble failure in hindsight. In Kai, WWE clearly have a ready-made valiant underdog just waiting to attempt the unthinkable of conquering a Charlotte Flair or Ronda Rousey. And Skye easily ranks inside of the top 3 workers in the company on her day. So not seeing the genius of the Skye putting on frequent dream bouts feels like a monumental waste of her masterful ability as a singles worker at present. The unit had potential, but the damage has been done. And now that War Games is in the rear-view mirror, it'd probably be wise to send these still rather fresh main roster faces down a new path before they become even more of an afterthought. Number 3, Riddle. 2022 has been a bit of a roller coaster for the original bro, but even when it looked as though Matt Riddle was in danger of fading into the background in the wake of RK Bro partner Randy Orton's back injury sidelining him in May, the former MMA fighter managed to still keep himself relevant with a few excellent showings against Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins, with the latter program actually unlocking some newfound babyface fire within as his war with the Visionary got personal. Since besting Rollins in the fight pit though, the wheels have well and truly fallen off the Riddle Express. Instead of doubling down on the fiery worker's newfound grittiness, Edge would have loved him, the company has opted to revert back to carting out Riddle as the oblivious comedy stoner just waiting to be stabbed in the back by his latest partner. Now if old pal Randy finds a way to return to the game sooner rather than later and inevitably strike his one-time partner out of the gates, there's a world where Riddle could probably rediscover his spark en route to a potential showdown at the Show of Shows. But if recent reports of Orton still being a while away from an in-ring comeback are anything to go off, Riddle may be doomed to breeze around as a painfully unaware side character for some time yet. Number 2, Mustafa Ali. WWE is either in the midst of one of the most patient spells of storytelling they've committed to TV in recent times, or Mustafa Ali has seriously pissed off someone behind the scenes lately. Based on past experiences, you'd be forgiven for assuming the latter. Maybe someone backstage just didn't appreciate the one-time 205 Live sensation's golden response to Braun Strowman's floppy flopper tweet a few weeks back. And that's what has paved the way for the star's apparent push on Monday nights recently ending about as quickly as it began. After seemingly looking like he was being positioned for a pop at Seth Rollins' United States Championship, a few competitive ringside brawls have ultimately paved the way for a string of emphatic losses and beatdowns. Again, this could be the beginning of a rewarding arc for Ali that sees him eventually overcome all those who have made him look like an utter loser over the last few months. But it's more likely he's been made to look like a consistent geek because that's precisely how he's viewed by those calling the shots. How depressing. Number 1, Ronda Rousey. Ronda Rousey should be found routinely digging into a box of merciless grappling tricks to break arms and spirits as she continues to reign supreme as SmackDown's top player in the women's division. But that doesn't necessarily mean WWE should just give up trying to genuinely build up those dumped in front of the baddest woman on the planet as credible threats in the lead up to an incoming defense of her title. That's exactly what appears to have been the case over the last few months though, with Rousey never once being dragged into legitimate deep water by one of her hopeless challengers. Hell, the only person to score singles victories over the former UFC bantamweight champion only did so via opportunistic cash-in and a fluke. And all this has succeeded in doing is making Rousey's run with the strap feel entirely predictable and increasingly dull by the program. A long-awaited blockbuster showdown with Becky Lynch can't come soon enough for the rowdy one, but even that has become a far less tantalizing proposition than it was this time last year, with many now now growing tired of the WrestleMania main eventers' displays in recent times. There's still admittedly a strong possibility Ronnie will rediscover her mojo when stood opposite her biggest rival to date, mind. But if the same version of Rousey seen putting on snooze fests and dropping cringy one-liners over the last year or so rocks up when the man comes around, then it may be time to start rethinking the baddest project on the planet. And that's our list. Know of any other WWE wrestlers who are in big trouble? Then let us know all about them in the comment section right down below, and do not forget to like, share, and go and click on that subscribe button while you're at it. Also, if this kind of thing is your bag, then please head on over to whatculture.com and find some more incredible articles just like the one this video you're watching right now is based on. I have been Gareth from What Culture Wrestling. Thank you as always for clicking on this fantastic video today. Hopefully I'll see you very, very soon, but in the meantime, just go and kick some ass, because you are the best and you rock.